Hi YouTube, Big Apple here. I know it's been a long time since I've made a video, so here we go. This is about the Colt LE6940 AR-15, and it's standard for a reason. A lot of people like to say Colt is the standard for ARs since they were, one of the original manufacturers of the M16A1, which ARs are based on. But anyway, I'll get into that a little bit later. Where have I been? I know a lot of y'all probably wondering. Well, I took the Tactical Response Fighting Rifle course, and I used this one after my Bushmaster ACR went down. I know a lot of y'all want me to do a review on the Bushy, and I will do a review after I run it with the new part that I got from Bushmaster. And this rifle did run like a top after my Bushy went down. So I had an issue with my Bushmaster. I'm going to talk about that in a later review. I want to keep this about the Colt, so I'll just kind of leave y'all, cliffhanging about that one. What is the role of this rifle, the LE6940? Well, it's like any other AR-15, home defense, hunting, recreation, regular defense, whatever. I'm not going to go into the details of the AR-15 platform because if you have an AR, you know what you have. You know what it's used for. You know what to expect. I'm going to talk about the specifics of this rifle in particular. So, what sets this apart from other ARs? Well, this one features a monolithic upper with a free-floating barrel. It also has a unique built-in front sight post. It is also a Colt. So these were the specific features to me that set it apart from others. So it has a monolithic upper, meaning that this part all right here is one piece. You see how it links together there. It is all one piece. So the rail does not split in half. It's all one piece, and the barrel's free floating. You see in there, it's not touching it. It's got this unique front sight post here, which is very similar looking to the one on their standard 6920. You know, that one that has like the triangle shape, but yeah, it folds down, so that's kind of cool. And it's Colt. Like I said, it sets the standard, kind of puts the bar up for mil-spec ARs because this is what mil-spec is based on. How does this compare to the 6920? Well, I'll show a picture of the 6920. It's just like this one. Except that the main difference is the handguard is different and the front sight is different. So personal preference between those two because the way that they operate is the same. The 6920 is the standard everyone is familiar with. Personally, I like the 6920 more for the option of changing handguards. The handguard on this one is a bit bulky for me. Well, I've never been a huge fan of quad rail ARs just because I'm not going to use all this space here. I prefer a rail like the Troy Alpha rail. I'll show you a picture here. It's like one long tubular piece that allows you to add rail sections where you want it. So you're not putting all this space that you're not going to use. You're putting the space exactly where you want it to be, where you are going to use it. So this handguard is nice. I mean, compared to some other quad rails, it's not huge, it's not gigantic, but it's still kind of big. So my personal preference, I would go with the 6920, but it's really up to you. So how's the weight? Well, it's 6.8 pounds, and for a quad rail AR, that's really not all that bad. If you don't have one with this quad rail up front, which makes it a little bit more front heavy, and you have a standard polymer handguard like the Magpul MOE or the mil-spec one, it is going to be a little bit lighter just because this is one big aluminum piece here, so that is heavier, does add weight to the front, but it does have this little cube D point here, so there are some advantages to this handguard, and like I said, you have plenty of space to mount stuff. So what features does this rifle come with besides the main things that set it apart from ARs? Well, it comes with a Magpul backup sight. This one doesn't have it, their one now does. It also comes with a single rail monolithic upper, which I already showed you. It comes with 6 groove rifling with a 1-to-7 twist in this 16-inch barrel. So if you want to shoot the heavier weight ammo, the heavier 5.56 ammo, this will digest it and group it just fine. It also has the free-floating barrel like I showed you, and this is the mil-spec standard. So everybody always wonders, oh, is it mil-spec, is it mil-spec, this and that? Well, all the little features that go with mil-spec, about the pin size and the shape and width and stuff of the buffer tube and everything, this is the standard. So this is pretty much what everything else is based on here because this is a Colt and it is the standard, just like that. Which features does this particular one have? Well, this one has the EOTech XPS-20 sight, which you can see right there. It also has Magpul ACS stock, which is the adaptive carbine storage stock, I believe what it is. I'll annotate that if I'm wrong. Magpul Myad grip right here has this interchangeable piece here. I believe he has the large piece on there right now. I'm going to go into more details on these features after I go through this too. Magpul castle nut sling ring. It has a yardage adjustable rear sight. I'm not sure what brand it is. He has it on there. This is my friend's rifle. A Timney 3-pound solid trigger. Magpul rail covers. Magpul XTM hand stop and a PWS. FSC556 compensator, which is the standard compensator that comes on the SCAR 16S. You can see it right there. All right, so I guess I'll tell you about what I like about each feature. So this compensator is really good. It does reduce recoil very, very nicely. It has some cool grooves. I mean, it looks cool. That's always a good thing, is that it looks cool. The concussion isn't too strong out of the sides like you would get from like the Michelette compensator. I'll show you a picture of that. That compensator does have quite a bit of concussion around the barrel because those ports are just so huge. So this one does have some concussion. I mean, you're going to get that with any compensator, but this one's manageable and it does reduce recoil like it claims. He has a Magpul XTM hand stop. There's another piece that goes with it up here. I'm kind of mixed on this. I mean, when I grab the rifle, I grab it like this, and I like to drive it into my shoulder that way, like this, with my finger in that groove. So it feels okay, but with this whole handguard and everything, it's not the best feeling. On my bushy, I have the Magpul AFG, which is just their angled forward grip, and I kind of like that one a little bit more. He has the rail covers on here, these little sections here, these pieces down here. I'm not sure if these rubber ones are Magpul, but I prefer the rubber ones because it keeps the handguard from feeling so huge, whereas like these little Magpul covers here are kind of big, but that's also part of this hand stop thing. A 73-pound solid trigger. Already done a review on that trigger. I really, really like it. The take up is short, the brake is clean, and the reset's really good. So I love that trigger. It has the yardage adjustable rear sight. This is something he put on there. You can see it has the yardage ticks right here. And you adjust it with this thing, and it's just a little standard peep. I don't even know how to open it. I didn't use it. But you can co-witness it through the EOTech just like any other AR. The EOTech is set perfectly to have just optical clarity with these sights and this whole setup with the AR-15 platform. All of them are like that, so that isn't unique to this one. He has a Magpul castle nut sling ring. I'm not sure exactly what this thing is called, but this is how I ran it. I ran it with a single point sling. I noticed if you ran this as a 2-point sling, if you had an attachment here and another attachment here, when you go to put it on your cheek, the sling would actually come back here and you'd get that big metal piece right here in your cheek. So running that as a 2-point sling from here probably isn't ideal. On my ACR, it has a QD point back here on the stock, which I think would be better for a 2-point setup. So this one runs really well as a single point. Magpul Maya grip, like I said, he has the large piece on here. I think it's all right. I'm kind of partial to the rubber Hogue grip just because I have it on my shotgun and my other AR, so I'm most used to that one, but this one still is really good. It's still an improvement over the standard A2 because it's bigger and it fills your hand a little bit better. Magpul ACS stock. I think this is all right for a carbine. It gives you a really good cheek weld. I'd probably run with the CTR. It's a little bit slimmer and would probably run better as a carbine. I have the same stock on my 20-inch AR, so for something with a scope, the cheek weld on this thing is just awesome. I love that. And he actually has, you can hear it, he actually has some spare batteries in here, so he is getting use out of this thing. I think he has a spare lithium battery for the EOTech sight. And then the EOTech sight, I like it. I mean, just like any other EOTech sight, I like it. I kind of prefer aim point because the reticle isn't as confusing. It's just a dot. Not that this reticle is confusing, but I guess to me, the little crosshair circling it is a little bit distracting. But that's a personal preference. So, how did it run? Well, it felt much slimmer than my ACR. The charging handle needed grease after a while. This is the same for any DIAR. We were shooting hundreds of rounds, so after a while when I was racking this thing, it'd get sticky just from all the gunk, coming in here. And one of the instructors slapped some grease in there on the charging handle and the bolt, and that completely remedied that issue. So the bolt carrier also got a bit sticky. Like I said, grease solved that easily. The grip insert flew out a few times when I was racking hard, so he actually does have in the Myad grip this little piece in here that has a spare bolt. So let me see if I can get this open here. And it did fly out a few times whenever I was shooting. So you can see he's got a spare bolt on here just in case you need it. But there were times when it got really sticky and I had to slam it against the ground to rack it and that piece flew out. So be careful with your accessories because sometimes they'll get in the way or they'll fly out whenever you're running this thing hard. The EOTech sight is clear, but I do prefer my aim point. Like I said, I just think the reticle is a little simpler on the aim point because it's just a dot, but that's personal preference. The compensator tames recoil quite a bit, so I really like the compensator. So how do I like this setup? Well, like I said, I'd prefer the 6920 just because it doesn't feel as bulky in the front. But and I would prefer a 2-point sling setup with QD mounts, which is quick disconnect points, and an aim-point sight. So my ACR has QD mounts, which is this little piece. You push this button, pops out. This does have built-in QD points on either side of this front handguard, so that is an advantage over the 6920 for this one. But my ACR also has those built-in points in the front and the back, and it's just perfect. So running this as a single point, I mean, I guess with any other AR, it's going to be the exact same way, just because, you know, there's so many freaking ARs out there. You could customize it exactly how you wanted. If I wanted to run it as a 2-point and I put a different Magpul stock back here that has the QD mount, like I think the CTR had a little QD point on the back, then I could easily run it that way. I also prefer the 6920 with the slimmer handguard, like I said. I'm just not a huge fan of quad rails because I'm not going to use all that space. But overall, I really like this rifle. I highly recommend this rifle. I mean, Colt is the standard. So if you want a good DI AR, you don't want to go through all the hassle of looking for some specific brand that someone claims is the best and you don't really know that much about. It's really hard to go wrong with Colt because they've been making these rifles for a really, really long time. I don't have the details of exactly what comes in the box. I think it comes with 2 20-round magazines and that Magpul backup sight. So it's pretty minimal, but I mean, just like any other AR, you're going to start putting your own stuff on it anyway. So if you're looking for a good AR, Colt is a good way to go. If y'all have any other questions, just post in the comments and I will answer them.